Welcome back to another episode of Lucid Daily. And guys, today was one of the craziest days Lucid has had in a very long time. And I said something similar yesterday because they had a really good day yesterday too. But today was even better. We heard from Peter Rawlinson on CNBC today, and he said a lot of really important things that I want to go ahead and cover with you guys. I actually took notes on him. Oh, I thought about watching with you guys, but I think it'll be better if I took notes and I can kind of explain things as we go, and I can give you my insights as well. Let's go ahead and dive into the stock action today and talk about exactly what went on. So if you go ahead and look at the stock price here, Lucid was up 11% today, and they were up another 1% in the after hours. This is really cool because the SPY was actually relatively flat today. It was actually down 0.5%, but nonetheless, Lucid outperformed and they did extremely well. Let's go ahead and look at Lucid on the week. Lucid is now up 18% this week, and they're actually down 10% this month, but they've really rebounded a lot better than almost any other stock that I've actually seen these past few weeks. So hats off to Lucid. They did an absolutely incredible job. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the interview, because there's actually some things in there that surprised me, some things that I was like, wow, that's really cool. And there's some things I was like, it's kind of out of left field. It was like a mini earnings call. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So he was brought on to CNBC, and they were talking about the plant in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that they officially just signed in. Everything's good to go. They're starting construction, and Peter Rawlinson described this as the genesis of the motor industry in the EV industry in Saudi Arabia. Just basically saying like they're the first EV company that's going to be there. They are working hand in hand, and everything is going great. So the host asked him like, "Hey, how does this help Lucid's bottom line?" And he said, "Well, obviously it means we have a really bright future. We are going to have 150,000 car production in Saudi Arabia, which is actually a little smaller than I was actually thinking." And then he followed it up saying that they're also going to add that to 350,000 in Arizona, and he's confident that they will have 500,000 vehicle production in 2025, which is absolutely crazy. That's a lot. That's a lot quicker than I was honestly anticipating. He said by mid-decade. So we'll go ahead and pull up a spreadsheet, and I'll show you guys exactly what this means. Actually, let me go ahead and pull it up right now. That way I can show you guys, and we don't have just in case I don't forget. So let's go ahead and play with my spreadsheet that I have here. And if we go to 500,000 cars. All right, let's go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see. So if they have a revenue per vehicle, if they're selling the Air Pure for 85,000, I kind of just give them a revenue per vehicle of 90,000. It could be a little higher, and I say this all the time that this will be Lucid's greatest strong suit, is that they are established as a luxury brand, so their revenue per vehicle will be a lot higher than per se Tesla's. Right? Tesla's hopefully at a greater scale, just because their average car costs more. So if they have 500,000 vehicles, they charge 90,000 per vehicle on average. That's $45 billion in revenue. Let's say they have a 30% profit margin, meaning it costs them 70% to make the car. These are based off their R&D, SG&A from the last quarter. I just extrapolated it over 4 quarters because I really don't know where they're going to be at in terms of SG&A and R&D. So their total expenses come out to $33 billion. And then I have not included taxes because I have no idea what the taxes will look like coming out of Saudi Arabia. I have no idea if there will be any sort of tax breaks with the Build Back Better plan. I have no idea. So I just have not included taxes. So we can go ahead and kind of substitute that out. You guys can kind of just factor that in when we're looking at the price. Now, their shares outstanding, they had 1.6 billion shares outstanding. Now, to give myself like a slight disclaimer that this is not accounting for any other revenue with leases, services, any kind of battery technology that they have. And this is also their R&D and SG&A will probably go up substantially. I don't know by how much, but if everything on the spreadsheet like were to be accurate, and I have no idea what they'll be taxed with a profit, but they would have an EPS of about $7.11, which would be actually absolutely crazy. And if you look even closer, if they're trading for a PE ratio of around 75, that gives a possible share price of $533 at 500,000 vehicles. Now, if you manipulate the PE to like 50, it's 355, and you can kind of play with those numbers a little bit. So this actually really surprised me because I did not. If we're in 2022, that's 2023, 2024. That's 3 years from now, and Lucid's trading for $19. That's absolutely crazy. Now, I understand my spreadsheet may be off, but I know it's ballpark. So this is actually pretty crazy. This is assuming that They probably will have to add shares because I don't know how they're going to raise more money, but we do know by the end of 2023 they probably will have to raise more money. And their expenses will probably go up, especially ramping another factory, ramping Project Gravity, and ramping up 3 more cars. I just don't know by how much, so I just took their last quarter and extrapolated it over all 4 quarters. So yeah, that would be like it's kind of crazy to imagine. So if they're doing 500,000 vehicles a year, let me just go ahead and pull up my calculator because I think this is an interesting number. If they're doing 500,000 vehicles a year, you divide that by 4, that's 125,000 a quarter. They just did 360 in 1 quarter. So to wrap my head around that number is kind of crazy, but hey, this is one of the most bullish. This is like, in terms of fundamentals, this is one of the most bullish that I've been on Lucid in a while. So interesting. Let's go ahead and keep going with what happened. And this almost felt like a revision, like an added emphasis, like, yes, like we are on track to do 500,000. He wasn't like super skittish in the interview, like, oh, like maybe like it's our best hope. Like he was like, we will have the capacity for 500,000. So that's everything goes according to plan. They can hit those 500,000. The host asked, like, hey, what do you think about how do oil prices change anything? And he said oil prices fuel the transition to electric vehicles, which I thought was pretty cool. He also mentioned that they have 30,000 reservations, which we heard last earnings call, and they have between 50,000 and 100,000 like pre-orders from Saudi Arabia. And he talked about the tech race. Now, this is where things got really interesting. Actually, it's this next part. Well, he kind of couples the two together. He talks about the tech race, but with this, he also couples the efficiency. The host asked him, like, hey, like their car, like Tesla has a little bit of a faster car than you. He's like, yeah, 0 to 60, but anything else, like we'll match their speed, or be as fast, like after 60 miles an hour. And she was like, well, what about the resources that you'll need? Like, what if we run out of resources? And he says that's Lucid's advantage is our technology is so efficient that the amount of resources that we need to build the amount of resources a company, like this is just an example, is like the amount of resources that a company may need to build 1 car, we build 2. So he just talked a lot about the efficiency, which I thought was really interesting. She asked him, how do you feel about like the slow adoption to charging stations, and what does he think? And he kind of just said, like, look, 95% of EV charging is done slowly overnight and at home. And there's this mythical road trip that everybody thinks that they take when they think about purchasing an electric vehicle, when in fact it's only a couple of times a year they'll take that trip that's more than 500 miles in a single stint. And he said they have a capacity for 300 miles of charge in 21 minutes, and they have a car that has 520 miles of range, and nobody is even close. I think their Pure will be at 400 miles, if I'm not mistaken. And then she asked him, how does Lucid stack up against the competition? And he gave the answer that we know very well. He's like, look, we're a luxury EV company. We appeal to luxury owners. Like, that's what we want. And then he did say, but we do have the Air Pure coming out this year, which is going to be, he said like 86,000. I can't remember if it was 86 or 89,000 later this year. And then I can't remember the question she asked him. She was like, what else do you see in like a fit, like electric vehicles? Like what else, like what other potentials does Lucid have? And he went on this small rant about EV tolls, which if you don't know, they're like electric helicopters. Like they don't have to be electric. I guess that if they're from Lucid, they probably will be. It kind of just made me scratch my head. I was like, okay, like that's interesting to know that's in the roadmap. And she asked him, like, hey, is there any potential that you'll expand in Saudi Arabia? He said, absolutely, which I thought was relatively bullish. He said, absolutely. And even like building a charging, like one of the things that we can do is build a charging infrastructure that is powered by the sun and not by, he's like, when all the oil dries up, the sun will still be there. And that was just kind of his reference to just saying that like, we will always have solar power and we need to learn how to use it. So that was the interview. I thought it was a very good interview. Like I said, this is one of the most bullish that I've been on Lucid in a little while, just because the last 3 quarters have been pretty shaky. But this is some of the most confidence that I've had in terms of seeing this bottom in Lucid, and not only in the share price, but I think we've really seen this ramp. Like, I think next quarter we will at least double deliveries. So I'm really hoping we better be delivering. I hope we tripled production. I'm looking at the numbers now, and we delivered 360. I hope we get over 1,000 deliveries next quarter. If we do April, May, June, if in a ramp, hopefully they deliver 1900. If they that's what we need. Like for a steady ramp, if they deliver 1900 next quarter, that'll be phenomenal. So that is my thoughts. Like I said, great day for Lucid investors. The stock was up in very good today. That doesn't even make sense. The stock was up quite a bit today, and these projections are frankly quite bullish. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and like always, see you next time. Thanks for watching.